Okay, let me just double check on YouTube to make sure it's up okay.
Yep, we're live. Hello, everybody.
Yeah, hi everyone. This is Ashley Land of Argoverse Comics, and I'm here with John Bua. Did I say that right?
Yep. Everybody has a difficult time with my name. Yeah. Yep. I had John's Longbox, my channel. Ashley's been on my channel. We talked about his comic book Unbreakable Argonauts, which is live on Indiegogo. So go back, Unbreakable Argonauts.
But we're here to talk about.
How's that? How am I doing? Am I promoting you well enough?
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
We're here to talk about your upcoming book, Heroic Tales, over on Fund My Comic. Do you want to just tell us about that? When's it set to launch?
It's set to launch on the 26th. So it was approved on the 26th of March, and I wanted to have a month of promotion. So it'll launch on April 26th, 9 p.m. And I will, if all goes well, Michael Bancroft will be hosting my launch party, and we'll be able to do that. And I'm so excited. I'm so nervous. Today, it kind of hit me how nervous I am. Excuse me. On Twitter, every couple of hours, I have a day job. So every couple of hours, I'll get a coffee break or a lunch break, and I'll just make sure that Twitter, Fund My Comic, Heroic Tales #1's coming out in a month, and then I don't get a chance to see the responses for a couple of hours. And then I'm on the commuter train coming home, and I see there's all these people retweeting, excited. I can't wait for this. This is our first day. And all of a sudden, I'm like, oh my God, I don't want to disappoint these people. Oh my God, I haven't been allowing myself to get nervous. I've been riding like the Silver Surfer, just riding this wave of extreme excitement and everything. But today, all of a sudden, I got really nervous for the first time. It was a little scary, but you must have been the same way.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm not talking crazy. But then I came home and I saw this that really, if I may sound vulnerable for a second, it actually got me emotional. So I backed the Tomb of Reckoning. Wonderful comic. Just sight unseen. I backed it before I even talked to the guy, just based on this wonderful artwork. So his Tomb of Reckoning, and again, I was talking about how sometimes I just miss. So his Tomb of Reckoning 2. So it was actually Tomb of Reckoning 2 that I backed, and I bought the first issue. But this is what got me. He put a little post-it note on the comic. I don't know if you could see it.
But I saw this on your Twitter, yeah.
Yeah, it says, "Thank you, John. Here's to a successful launch of Heroic Tales." I'm getting emotional. Think of, you know what I mean? Like, that was really, really nice. I was all nervous getting out of my car thinking, oh my God, what if I disappoint people? What if I'm, we all have that, moment of doubt or whatever. And then I saw that and it really made me feel good. So again, YouTube comic book people are some of the best people in the world. I know there's drama. I know there's fighting, but I think people who get involved in that want to be involved in that.
Yeah.
How about you? I haven't seen you out there fist fighting with anybody on Twitter and YouTube. So
Yeah, I have no interest in drama at all.
Yeah. Like my line now is the only drama that I want to know is if Batman can beat up the Hulk. You know what I mean? That's the drama I want. Is Superman gonna ask Lois Lane to marry him, or you know what I mean? That's the drama that I want.
Praying that DC doesn't get them split up or anything.
Oh, that's right. They are married. I forgot. It's been so long since I read a new DC comic. Although I will be getting the new Batman with Mike Allred. That looks phenomenal. I didn't even know. Talk about being embarrassed. Mike Allred was on my channel last week. I didn't even know he was doing a Batman comic. Because that's how little I pay attention to modern DC. I'm whispering like he can hear me. But Mike Allred, I'm sorry. So I got to go. I'm actually a little excited to go to the local comic store and buy some new comics for the first time in a long time. Get some Mike Allred Batman.
Yeah. So could you tell us about Heroic Tales? Tell us.
Oh, sure.
Story.
Yeah. Let me get prepared because I've been eating my dinner while talking to you. But Fund My Comic. I'm just bringing it up on my browser. Let me log in so you don't see my login information. There we go. And then let me get my campaign going. My campaign. Boy, am I unprepared for everything. Okay, so now we go. Now I'm going to share my screen. Old man using technology over here, everybody. Okay. Is it working? Yes.
There we go.
Okay, so this is my campaign. As you see, the campaign is approved, but it's not yet started. So it'll start on the 26th of April, 9 p.m. And look at this. Nick X is the one who designed all the graphics and everything. It looks beautiful. And you want to hear an embarrassing inside baseball story? I submitted my campaign page to fund my comic like 2 months ago, and they rejected it because I didn't know what I was doing. So I asked if somebody could help me make it, and Nick is just, so I call him the turd polisher. He took my turd and he polished it. But look at this. So here if I may get salesman mode, here's my pledges. So for $10 plus shipping, unfortunately, I got to charge shipping. We know how it is. You can get a copy of my comic. I was really adamant about making it $10. I think a comic book should be affordable because it's a comic book. I don't have any pretentious illusions of graphic novels and art. Nothing wrong with them. But I'm making a comic book. I'm making a superhero floppy comic book. So I wanted to make it so that a kid could afford it because it's a comic book. Kids should be reading comic books. And then for $25, you can get 3 copies. If you have a store, retail, or you just want $6 digital. I fought tooth and nail against digital, but I realize that there's some people who either don't want to pay the shipping, which I totally understand, or they just don't want to have comic books all over the house, which I will never understand. Comic books are great to be tripping over. Then for $20, you can get the plus shipping a pint glass, and the pint glasses are already made, and a copy of the comic. And then here we got a variant cover. Check out this variant cover. This is by Pat Broderick. Pat Broderick was the first comic book artist that I just went berserk over. When I first got into comic books, he was drawing Captain Marvel, the Cosmic Avenger, and he was hanging out with Drax the Destroyer. Back when Drax the Destroyer had a cape and could fly and shoot laser beams. Not like the modern Drax, who's almost a different character. And I love those. And I actually wrote a fan letter, and then Mike Barron worked with Pat Broderick, and I had Mike Barron on my channel. So we were done talking, and I was like, "Is it okay if I approach Pat Broderick to do a cover?" And he's like, "You're gonna pay him?" I was like, "Of course I'm gonna pay." He's like, and then he starts laughing. He goes, "I'll ask him. I'll put in a good word." And so Mike Barron, again, our comic book people in YouTube and Twitter are if you're fighting, it's because you want to fight. Let me put it that way. And then you could get 3 copies of the variant cover, the pint glass in the variant cover, $20 plus shipping, 1 of each, $25, 1 of each, and a pint glass. And then I'll go back up and I'll talk about this. So look at this wonderful logo designed by Nick X. I'm just so happy the way everything turned out. So I wanted to, here's the cover by Renzo. This is the regular cover. Oh, look at that. And then the whatever. This is the back cover. Oh my God. I was coming home from work, and I was thinking about the back cover of the comic. And a lot of these comic book printer plates, they will put an ad for themselves on the back of the cover, and it's cheaper to print. But I'm like, you don't get to make a first comic book again. This is my only chance, and I spent quite a few dollars making this. I said, not to be mean, but I don't want somebody else advertising on my comic book, especially the back cover. That's great. So I said, what can I put on the back cover? And the name of the story is called Daddy's Home. And it's about the patriarch. He's a father. He's trying to get home to his family, but hijinks ensue. So he's just trying to get home. And then this happens. The life of a superhero is unexpected, unplanned. So he finally gets home. And then the last page, the back cover is, how he would choose to spend his day. This is so this is his family. That's his wife in the purple down there. And he has 7 kids. They have a farm, and when I pictured this in my head, I'm not even joking. This is exactly what I pictured. And then I described it to Renzo, and he did a beautiful thumbnail that's a work of art in itself, with his pencils and everything. I got to put that in the comic sooner or later. Just this wonderful. I just said no because it was very religious looking. The sun was behind his head. It looked like a halo. I said it was too much, but it was gorgeous. So we redesigned it a little bit, and it was gorgeous in the black and white, in the finished inks. And then I sent it to Daniel to get colored. And me and Renzo, we both said we can't stop looking at it. This is so beautiful. And I it's a shame it's on the back cover, but I think it's perfect. The front cover is the heroic action, and he's battling his way to get home, and then I'm home. I really love it. I can't believe I had anything to do with this.
It has kind of All-Star Superman kind of vibes.
Oh, yeah. Do you mean the artwork or just the concept?
Yeah, well, a little bit of both, but definitely the artwork.
If you're gonna, because if you're gonna compare Renzo to Frank Quietly, I'm sure Renzo's head's gonna explode. I'll tell him that later. We talk every Friday.
Well, when I was looking through the campaign, I was actually thinking of kind of like a New 52 Greg Capullo. That's what the art reminded me of. It's phenomenally good.
Yeah. I saw Renzo. He did work for your boy Zach. He did that. Why can't I think of the name? The Theosophy books. The woman who's running on the bridge and everything like that. And so I noticed him then, and then I think he did Impossible Stars. So I was like, this guy's good. But when I saw him do Thomas Valiant for RJ for the Fourth Age, I was like, this is the way I picture my comic. So I asked RJ for the Fourth Age, is it okay if I ask Renzo to work for me? And he said the same thing that I said to somebody else who asked me the same question. I'm not Renzo's slave master. The guy can work for whoever he wants. So I talked to Renzo. We talked about the concept, and he really liked the concept. And we've been, every Friday, boom. I try not to be a pest. On Fridays, I message the colorist. I message Renzo. I message, the letterer, even though that's the only thing. We got to get everything lettered yet. We got to get everything lettered. And I'm just redoing the script, last minute revisions. We'll get it lettered, and we're like 80% done. So I'm getting nervous. It's happening, But anyway, back to I just look at this, and I had this idea, and I talked it out with Renzo, and now I'm looking at this. This is beautiful. In a healthy comic book industry, wouldn't you see this next to the Fantastic Four, the Avengers on a comic strip? Wouldn't people be talking about this? How are we the only ones who see this? I really do think it's a shame, to the point where I was just on a stream with Yang Yan, and I was saying, like, he says, do you have any desires to go beyond Kickstarting, crowdfunding rather? I said, ideally, I'd like to get this into stores, but let me hurdle one hurdle at a time. Let me get this made. Let me get this in people's hands. Let me hear if people like it. Let me hear some feedback. And if the momentum is good, and if people give me positive reinforcement and they tell me to keep going, I'm going to try my best to get this into comic stores. I was talking with Critical Blast. Are you familiar with RJ from Critical Blast?
Yep.
He has connections or systems in play, or knows people, or of getting like hardcover graphic, hardcover collected editions, and selling them in stores. So yeah, it's because it started out as a vanity project. Let's be realistic. It was something that I wanted to do. I could do this, and now I'm thinking it's so good. It's so beautiful. This is the interior art. Like I was like, we got to put interior art, because people need to see that I'm not pulling a fast one, just having a good artist do the cover, and Phil Moskowitz, doing the inside. So no, but I want people to see how good this, and now it's so good. Of course I want it to sell well. Let's be realistic. It has to make money. Otherwise I can't keep doing it. But like, if only 100 people see this, to me, that's a shame. Like, thousands of people need to see this. Yeah, of course it's self-serving. That means they're going to buy my comic, but that means I could, Renzo could put his kids through college. I'm going to, I could make a lot of good comics. It's this. I am so excited. Look at this. This was the first page he sent me. This is the second page in the comic, but this is the first page he drew, oh my God, I'm so excited. And it's funny because the only criticism I said is, could could you put balloons in the background, dirigibles in the background, because that's going to play a part in a story that I don't want to spoil. And he was like, sure, you got it, but this is exactly what I described on the page. This is exactly what I picked. Look at that. In a healthy industry, this is going to be in posters in comic book stores. Yeah. Oh, we got Mac. We got Mac in the chat. He says the artwork looks awesome. Yes, every page Renzo does, he's getting better and better and better to the, and we have, I it's not colored yet, but the supervillain fight. He just sent me the pages. We want to make sure that the fight choreography. Oh my God, it's so cool! It's so cool. Yeah, the art is so good. Classic bank robber, and I did this because I don't know if you guys are familiar with Diversity in Comics. Richard T. Meyer, that was like a running joke. Whatever happened to it? Just a good old fashioned bank robbery. Whatever. So I was like, I'm starting with a good old fashioned bank robbery, and I made a good old fashioned bad guy. This is Boss Moxie. Boss Moxie, he talks and acts like a, hey guys, hey, oh, put your hands up. I'll fill you full of lead. He's one of those kind of guys. But as goofy as that is, you will learn that there's a reason why people behave like this. There's a reason why, if you read Batman, Gotham City is just filled with lunatics. Why would you call yourself the Penguin and fill an umbrella with poison gas, or dress like a clown, and poison the fish supply? So somewhere along the way, I think it was Grant Morrison said the city itself is cursed. I fell in love with that idea of a cursed city. So, I came up with an idea of the city is based on magical principles. A wizard is the architect of Science City. Ironically, it's called Science City. And, all the buildings have solar panels. They harness the power of the sun and all this, and it's supposed to be channeled through. There's supposed to be a spire here. This is the exact center. Instead, the industrialist put a statue of himself. So all this energy from ley lines and solar energy that this wizard designed, the city itself, the blueprint is a magic symbol. And all this energy is supposed to be focused and create a utopia for everybody. But it's now going through this statue, and the magic is just being dispersed at the wrong frequencies or wrong angles and wrong material components. So now people act like crazy people. Now there's Boss Moxie who thinks he's a 30s gangster, and and the main bad guy thinks he's whatever. I don't want to spoil that. So now there's there's villains, and if they leave the city for long enough, they might return to normal. They might not, depending upon how damaged their brain is from where they sleep at night when there's energy. So, and the patriarch, he doesn't live in Science City. He just commutes to work. He lives out in the mountains, so he's not corrupted by this. So it's like such a comic book trope that there's corrupt politicians, there's corrupt industrialists, there's corrupt religious leaders. I'm having all of that in the, and here I wanted to do this sequence. Like, he's trying to get home. Now he's saving a family in a car. And I would be remiss if I didn't bring up, can you make this panel big? If you click on that little square, you know how, yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
If you look, you can see the little kid there has a Batsy action figure, and the little boy has a wolf action figure from Brian Bow's Wolf and Batsy. I just nodding out a guy who's been a great help from day one. A great help. So I wanted to repay with a little bit of, and that's not the only. There's more Wolf and Batsy in the comic. The joke is that Wolf and Batsy is a cartoon that people watch in my world. So there's Wolf and Batsy references, because again, we got to help our buddies.
So a couple of things I just want to say. First of all, I said earlier about who the artist reminded me of. Listening to the story, it sounds kind of like something Mark Millar might write. I don't know if is he an inspiration on you?
Absolutely. I mean, you got me to blush. I got a little like I don't know what to say, but I think Mark Millar is right now the greatest living comic book writer. let's be realistic. When we were little kids, we attracted to comic books because the art. But I like story. I daydream stories. I play role playing games, and I'm constantly thinking up stories with my buddies. And Mark Millar is amazing with he's one of the only original comic book writers going. Like, you know, I couldn't even compare him with anybody. I mean, I couldn't compare anybody else to him because who else is there? So to say that, it makes you think of Mark Millar. I hope to be 100th as good as Mark Millar, you know, someday, and even that would be phenomenal. Yeah, but like, you know, I'm inspired by I love Grant Morrison, I love Alan Moore, I love Stan Lee, Jack Kirby, Len Wein, Marv Wolfman. You know, I'm trying. There's so many great comic book writers that the Hernandez brothers. You know, there's, you're gonna recognize Love and Rockets in this. You know, how can you not? I love so many comics, and did homage, steal, what's the correct word? But all done with love. And sometimes some of these stories I wrote like 20 years ago, and they've been in the back burner. I took them out, so I don't even remember like the inspirations for some of them. You know, some of them are role-playing games, and when you play role-playing games, the players kind of help write the story too. So, you know, so that's also an inspiration to but I don't know, you kind of flawed me by saying Mark Millar. I don't even know what to say.
Well, last time we talked about the Alan Moore comic Tom Strong, and I'm getting those same kind of retro futuristic vibes from your book.
Yes, I will say that there will be nods to not so much Tom Strong, because you know you don't want to rip off something like that, but there will be pulpy things. I have a pulp hero set in the 30s that I would like to tell that story. I have like a jungle woman inspired character that I'd like to tell her story. I even have an Old West superhero that I'd like to tell their story. So like, it's called Heroic Tales because it's not the Patriarch's comic. You know, I'm a little worried because issue 2 is gonna. I'm putting in the first page of issue 2 in the back because I don't want there to be the criticism of people like, oh, where's the Patriarch? Like, I want people to know that issue 2 is Mary Sue, a whole nother character. She's born in Flushing, Queens, and moves to Science City and becomes a superhero. And she's a rookie superhero, whereas Patriarch is pretty much the most beloved, experienced superhero at this point. So I'm a little scared about that. So I want people to understand I'm not baiting and switching. I will come back to the Patriarch, and if demand is well enough, I will do a Patriarch comic. You know, if demand is strong enough, and you know I can find a team that I love as much as this, because you know, so I'm willing to do all of that. Shoot the moon, you know what I mean? Shoot the moon. Yeah. But I have tales set in the 40s. But this comic is about heroic tales in my world. You know, one story is going to be set in New York. There's another city called Umbra City, which is like the exact opposite of Science City, where this is built by modern technology and magic. The other one was built by a occult mishap, let's call it that. And it's, you know, it's the villains outnumber the heroes there. You know, so there's really only one superhero that goes to Umbra City because his family caused the mishap, and it's an obligation to fix it. You know what I mean? And then poor people who can't leave, you know, Umbra City. So I don't know. So I want people to know there's a whole bunch of world, and if there's demand, if I can, I'll you know, this I kind of think of this as Marvel Premiere or Marvel Spotlight. If you remember those old Marvel comics, where this is the idea, and then like, you know, if there's demand, we'll take Moon Knight out of Marvel Spotlight and give him his own comic. We'll take Adam Warlock out of Marvel Spotlight, give him his own comic. So I would love to do like 4 or 5 different comics, but you know, and then the team is going to form around issue 7. I don't want to, and I don't want to give the names because who knows how long it's going to take to get to issue 7, and then you find out somebody else. That's a good idea. I'm going to rush it out and do it now. You know, so I'm just trying to protect myself. But I'm all excited. I cannot stress enough that I was very adamant about the price being $10 for the comic. I can't control the shipping.
Yeah.
But I feel like a comic book should be affordable. It's a comic book. I don't like that other people, I don't care if you call it a graphic novel, $35 for a comic book is too much money.
Mm-hmm.
And we were talking before we went live about how some people are embarrassed that they're making I'm not embarrassed I have to make money or I can't make more comics.
Yeah.
You put up okay. Argoverse Comics at John Bua. Okay, all right. I saw something else. I got confused because my friend has a comic company called Argo 5, and I thought that was him. Since I brought it up, Argo 5 is run by Dan Sen, who has a Kickstarter called Thunder Zone Comics right now, where my childhood friend, we were literally born next door to each other, is making a comic called Marshall Strong, who's a character in Heroic Tales, because he's one of the players in my role-playing game. So you could hear a spin-off story set in the Heroic Tales universe written by somebody else. And how funny is the fact that his comic will come out first. So
you were saying before about things that in a good comic book industry there'd be more of this, and one of those is having a series that doesn't belong to any one character, like what you're doing with Heroic Tales.
Right. I'm excited because I have so many superhero ideas. I have so many superhero stories that I didn't want to make the Patriarch comic. I wanted to make Heroic. I wanted to make a comic book where you could see it's all set in the same world, and they all interact. Each issue is one and done. It's a self-contained story, so you're not going to spend $10 and then you're going to have to wait however long it takes. I'm a rookie comic book maker. I admit that up front. I don't know how long it's going to take to make issue 2. Ideally, I'd like to do 3 a year. Ideally, I'll get there. But right now, I don't know how long it'll take. So I don't want you to wait a year for the next part. You're not going to care. You know what I mean? So you get this. It's a full story. $10. I think that's fair.
Yeah.
If you get issue, so say you live under a rock and issue 2 comes out and you like it, you'll buy issue 2, and it'll be a self-contained story. But if you get issue 1 and issue 2 and issue 3, you're going to pick up little stories, because there will be, like the Marvel MCU did, Captain America movie, the Iron Man movie. You could miss any of those movies, but if you see them all, you're going to appreciate the Avengers movie that much more. So I'm not sure if it's going to be issue 7 or issue 8. It'll be the founding of the team, of the current superheroes. There's been teams in the past. Some of them have met with disaster. Some of them we don't know what happened to. Some of them aged out. But this will be the formation of the new modern super team. So, that you will be able to read that by itself and appreciate it. But if you get the Patriarch issue number 1, if you get, issue number 3, I think you'll appreciate it even more. And I think it's going to be issue 5. I'm not 100% sure. I'll have the origin of the Patriarch. So I already planned to come back. I have 3 Patriarch issues out of 5. So 3 out of 5 issues are going to feature the Patriarch. One that's going to feature the Patriarch, it's also going to feature another guy. So it's going to be a team up. But you know what I mean? I don't want to. I love these characters. If you ever watch the Venture Brothers, they're always introducing a new character, and they say they fall in love with that character, and they don't want to say goodbye to any. That's the way I feel. I love the Patriarch. I hope he's so popular that I could do more of them.
So I have a quick question.
Sure,
so you said before that some of these stories are like 20 years old that you've been kind of playing with. So what was the first comic where you read it and you were like, I am going to make a comic? You know what I mean?
I have to say Avengers 165. I think it was 1978, written by Jim Shooter, drawn by John Byrne. It's the Avengers fight Count Nefaria. Count Nefaria was a mafia leader, but they couldn't say the mafia back then because the comics code, so they said the Magia. So just think of a Magia Don, like the Godfather in the Francis Ford. Just think of that guy gets superpowers. and he fights the Avenger, and he gets carried away, and he's knocking over buildings, and he's punching Iron Man, and he's so super speed, he catches Captain America's shield, and he throws, and he shoot laser beams. I'm not even joking. My friend Mike, who's doing the Marshall Strong comic, we were little kids acting out that comic. I would be Count Nefaria, and he would pretend to be all the superheroes. Then we would take turns, and that was it. We were drawing because of that. We found a role-playing game because of that, and we acted out. We made Avengers in our role-playing games, and we tried to stat out everything and choreograph. And we were writing comic books as little kids. You know what I mean? We didn't think we were going to be professional, but I always wanted to be a comic book writer. I learned early on that I didn't have talent for art. Mike started to get really good with art, but then life gets in the way, and he didn't pursue it. And so I just wrote scripts, and a couple of my friends would storyboard them out, but they never got too far. And then as the adult world came, my comic book friends, they got kids, they moved away. Unfortunately, some of them died, as happens. Some of them just, oh yeah, comic books were fun, but I'm a Wall Street executive now, So I knew I couldn't do it with my friends as much as I would love to. So I went out and I made new friends. I made friends with Renzo, and I made friends with Daniel. And now I do. Nick Axe has helped me. I consider these guys my friends, and we got a bunch of, unfortunately, we've never physically been in a room together, but we'll have chats and talk things out, and spin ideas. I met Ron Mosicki, who's doing a backup story, and Oscar Carrena is doing the coloring for that. So my circle of friends got big, and I dream that this comic does so good that I could take some of the money and fly everybody here, and we'll do like a big, I'll set up a camera up here, and we could all talk to everybody, and stat out the characters and play a game. I'd love to have Brian Bow come out here, because he's been instrumental in helping me make this comic. I just would, how cool would that be?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. You're making a comic, and your comic looks awesome too. You've got to have that. You would love to get together and play, and act out. I don't know. It's because we're children. Let's be realistic. We're children. Adults. My buddies who do Wall Street, they don't have this childlike desire, to make a comic book, but they do like the Marvel movies, and it's funny because these guys have they're making $500,000 a year. They got one of them's got an apartment up in Manhattan penthouse that, oh man, it's like a movie. And then, they're very prim and proper, and their daughters are going to these nice Ivy League schools. And then a Marvel movie comes out, like, hey John, remember that? And we, for 20-minute conversation, we're little kids again. I just never stop that. I'm too much of a. I mean, look at behind me.
Yeah, it is kind of a shame that there's this kind of weird like, oh yeah, I'll go see the movies, but the comics are too juvenile for me, and it's like it's the same characters, it's just a different medium.
Right. I blame Marvel. How I remember at one point when the Jessica Alba Fantastic Four movie was in the theaters.
Yeah.
I was working in Times Square in Manhattan, and I'm outside. It's a nice day because the construction, it's noisy and everything like that. So you could find it. You go outside, you want to get some fresh air, and I'm looking at a billboard over Times Square of the Fantastic Four. And I'm like, if you had told me as a little kid that there was going to be a billboard with the Fantastic Four for a movie, and nobody's going to comic book stores to buy this comic book, I wouldn't have believed it. The fact that Marvel failed to capitalize on getting asses and seats in comic book stores. You know what I mean? The movies were making $1 billion. And my buddy was working at the comic book store at the time, and he said that every day people would come in. Oh, I like the Marvel movies. My son likes Thor. And then they get the new issue of Thor. And oh, Jane Foster's Thor? Oh, and she has cancer. And then they put the comic back. Oh, okay. How about Iron Man? Oh, Iron Man is a 14-year-old black girl? Oh, okay. What about what about Captain America? Oh, well, I mean, now the Falcon's Captain America, but at the time it's like, this isn't the guy in the movies. And they said that they would put the comic books back and buy a pack of Yu-Gi-Oh cards to keep the kid happy in the car. and you would never see them again.
Yeah.
So how did I could see all the creators at Marvel being clueless, but how did the marketing guys, how did the executive guys allow this to happen? That is the mystery. Thus, therein lies the mystery.
I think one company like I think Image really did it well with The Walking Dead, where they had like everything Walking Dead was just out as the series was going.
Yeah.
And then you look at that where they've got like different formats and it's being sold in like just conventional bookstores. And then you go and you try finding something Marvel or DC, and it's like maybe you can find Civil War, maybe you can find Dark Knight Returns, but not much else. And it's just,
well, it's funny that you say that, because you go into a Barnes and Nobles. I don't know what bookstores are out by you across the Atlantic, but you go into the major book chains, Barnes and Noble. They got Dark Knight Returns, they got Watchmen, they got Civil War, and they got the I'm trying to think, they'll have the classic John Byrne, Chris Claremont X-Men. They don't have anything from the last 10 years.
Yeah.
Where are the great classics? What is going on with Marvel right now? Well, not now, but up until a year or two ago, you couldn't fit more people in a movie theater with a crowbar to see a Marvel movie. And, there's tumbleweeds in the comic book stores, and the reason is because nobody's interested. The comics were bad. They're expensive. They're preachy. They had no respect for the continuity of the past, which is what got me. I quit Marvel and DC in 2015 before they got, identity politics crazy. I left because of the disregard for the continuity, and I just thought it was disrespectful to hiring people who I think they just had contempt for the medium, and it was obvious they were just like Ta-Nehisi Coates. That guy doesn't care about comic books. He's writing Black Panther because it was cool, and he had no concept of what Jack Kirby had created. And this was before, like, I see the comment, they went woke. Yes, they went woke. I left before they even got woke. I'm so glad I didn't contribute money to the that period of Marvel. That was more like, I'd say like 2016, 2017. It got unbearable. My friends would be like, look at this. And I'm like, is this real? This isn't a joke printed on Twitter just to make me mad. You know how they could take comic panels and erase the words and put in new words? That's how bad it was. That's what I thought was happening. I was like, oh man. And I still get new comics. And I have to laugh because last night I ordered my new comics from Discount Comic Book Service. And last night I made my order. New comics, 1 month was $35. It was the cheapest I've ever spent on comic books in my adult life. When in 2015, the month before I quit Marvel DC, I was spending $400 a month on comic books, much to my wife's chagrin. So, but I wasn't enjoying them. And it was like cutting off a limb. Like, I don't collect comic books anymore, but I still got like Hellboy. I still get Usagi Yojimbo. They're even in the mainstream, there is good stuff. And as embarrassing as this is to admit, I just had Mark Allred on my channel the other day, and I consider myself a fanboy, meaning I just get, if Mark Allred does it, I buy it. And I didn't know he was on Batman. How embarrassing is that? I didn't, so he was talking about Batman. I was like, oh, that's, I'm writing it down. Pick up. So I'm going to pick up my first new DC comic in like 5 or 6 years, because Mark Allred, how can you not? You look at Mark Allred's art, and that is comic books to me. He's one of the greatest living comic book artists. So I will be picking up. So I do have a theory that Marvel and DC is turning the corner. They're righting the ship. But what I always say is, when you break up with a girlfriend, you don't go back out with her. That's a mistake. There's a reason. So I don't know if I'm going to go back to Marvel or DC. I'm too obsessive. That means I would have to get all the back issues that I missed, and I'd have to get everything by Marvel and DC like I used to. And I kind of enjoy taking my disposable income and making my own comics.
Yeah, I think the unfortunate part about comic book drama is there's so much attention on the bad books and there's no attention on the good ones.
Oh, I'm so glad you said that. If I don't understand this fascination with attacking other people. Now, I'm all for criticism. Anybody watching this channel, and you get my comic book and there's something that you don't like, let me know. I promise I won't get, I might get my feelings hurt. I'm human, but I'm not going to go berserk. I'm trying to adopt what would Stan Lee do. If you told Stan, hey, that new issue of Fantastic Four really sucked, you dropped the ball, Stan. Ah, well, we can't always hit 100. Next issue will be great. Thank you for, not that I'm dismissing you. I will listen to your criticism. I want to be better. And believe me, when you grow up in an Italian Catholic family with 7 kids, you get better or you get beat up. My older brothers, sisters, oh man, my mom and dad, you can't hurt my feelings the way they did. So, whatever. And then when you go into construction, if you're going to bend the pipe and you mess it up, oh my God, the stuff that they say right then and there would close down a financial district's HR department. You know what I mean? There'd be letters, you know what I mean? And you don't do it. And then the next day, you're as right as rain again, because that's the way real men are, So get back to your drama point. If somebody insults somebody else, these are comic book artists that live in basements. They don't work with people. So they take it personally and they never let it go. And then they fight about it for the next 30 years. Grow the F up. You know what I mean? If you criticize my comic, you're going to hurt my feelings. I'm going to get pissed off. I'm going to say something to you. And then the next day, you're like, hey, you want to go get a cheeseburger? You know what I mean? Like, that's the way men are. Like, we don't read private DMs. We don't fight about it. And we don't attack them for freaking 4 months. Like, there's a restaurant around the block from me. They gave me a really bad dinner. I'm not going back. I'm not going to talk about it. If you happen to say, let's go to that place. I didn't like that place. The food really sucked. But I'm not going to go on YouTube every night for 6 hours a night for the next 4 months talking about how bad that restaurant. I don't want to hear it. There's other restaurants. Let's go there. There's plenty of good comics. I got Tomb of Reckoning. Let's talk about this. I didn't read it yet. Obviously, I just got it. I got Shrine yesterday. This looks awesome. Let's talk about that. I got Black Hammer. This, I can't wait to read this. Black Hammer. I got Wolf and Batsy over here. Let's talk about Wolf and Batsy. I got this just showed up. Freedom 5. It's a comic book attached to a board game. It's a board game about superheroes, and then for a stretch goal, they throw in this hardcover. Let's talk about this. Nobody in the comic book world knows about this. The board game people know about. There's so much to talk about. Why would I talk about something I don't like? I don't understand it. I'm reaching around to see. Oh yeah, this just came in. Another crowdfunded comic. It's a good comic. Let's talk about that. Here's Captain America. This came out in 2012. I didn't know I had it, so I just finally read it. It was fun. Let's talk about this. I thought we loved comics.
Yeah. For me, I don't know if you read Philip Kennedy Johnson's Warworld saga for Superman.
Which one? I'm sorry.
The Warworld saga
of a Superman comic.
Action Comics under Philip Kennedy Johnson. That was a really fun comic. It's Superman goes to Warworld with Mongol.
Oh, when did this come out? Was it after 2015? Yeah,
it was 2021, I think.
Yeah, then I missed it. And I'm sure there's good comics. I'm sure I've been hearing that there's some really good Superman stories lately.
Yeah.
And as much as Mark Waid is a jerk, I heard he's been writing some good Superman stuff. And that's another thing. Somebody asked me the other day, would you promote this guy's comic who's somebody that is jerky? Let's leave it at that. And I said, if the comic's good, and I said it on a panel, and you should have seen everybody's face. I'm like, because it's about the comics,
Yeah.
And why wouldn't I want that comic to be good? What's in it for me if the comic's bad?
Yeah.
We're all adults. I assume we all have jobs. We could afford to buy 2 comics, So yeah, that guy might be a jerk, but you know what? I'm sure Alan Moore is kind of a jerk, and I love his comics. I think Alan. Do you really think me and Grant Morrison sitting at the same table would be, drinking beers and cheering? It would probably end up with like, you're a freak, your politics are weird, and he'd probably be calling me a right-wing Nazi. Doors would be slamming, and then I'd still love his comics. So, adults can disagree.
Creativity, there's like an unfortunate overlap between like brilliance and just being an insufferable person.
I every once in a while, I think I get Alan Moore's contact information and I send it. And I know that if it is, it's going to be the worst possible thing. He comes on my channel and insults me. But but I'd still love his comics. I fantasize Mark Waid coming on my channel and having a real adult conversation about his behavior, but still telling him how much I loved his Flash run and Kingdom Come. We can hold two. We're adults. Our brains have the ability to have these contradictory thoughts in them. And I do try to separate the art from the artist. Like, all kidding aside, Mark Waid is probably the only guy I would be real hesitant to buy his comics after what he did to Richard Meyer. Yeah, I assume you know what I'm talking about. Yeah, he got his comic pulled and basically started crowdfunding comics. Like, there was a few people before him, but after Mark Waid created Comicsgate, Mark, you're Dr. Frankenstein, and we are your unwanted monster children.
Yeah, I think I heard Richard Meyer say that, like, he didn't like the experience, but career-wise, it was the best thing that happened to him.
Right. He was hurt. He was upset. I've been following and listening to him since I was one of his insiders since the beginning, and he said he's hurt, but it was the best financial thing. It allowed him to quit his job, and make comics full time. So
yeah, there's a lot of irony to go around in comics.
Yeah. I forget if we talked about this live or not, but before we went live, we were talking about how some people are embarrassed to make a profit on their comic.
Yeah.
I want to make a profit on my comic. What's wrong with saying that? I have to make a profit on my comic. Otherwise, I can't make more comics, So I find that whole, like, embarrassment to make money thing is, no wonder you're broke. No wonder you're begging on the internet, that make something worth people giving you money. And that goes back to my comic is $10. I think it's worth more than $10, but I just feel a comic book should be affordable for kids as well as adults.
Yeah. So, let's hope they get back to it at some point, hopefully.
I don't know if comics will ever go down in price again, but I just hold the line. Just stay there and
get more economical.
Yeah.
Yeah, my hope is that at some point they'll hopefully, like, increase the volume so you get more bang for your buck, but they don't charge you more.
Yeah, what we would talk. If I could get into stores, I'd like to lower the price.
Yeah.
If I could get a collected trade, a hardcover, make that affordable. So I have plans in the future, but one step at a time. Right now, let's get people to read Heroic Tales #1.
Absolutely.
And, like Yang said, there's room for improvement. I'm starting out low stakes, and I want to build the stakes. Like, I originally was writing, like, this ultimate saga, and then I realized nobody cares. Could you just imagine if the first Marvel movie was Infinity War?
I had the same kind of process. I was like, I'm thinking in my mind, I'm like, I'm going to put out Kingdom Come, and everyone's going to come. And it's like, why would people care about Kingdom Come characters they've never read about?
Right, exactly. Like, so I just said, okay, now I'm gonna introduce my world.
Yeah.
Ease on down into it. I'm not even telling the origin of the patriarch, because do you really care how a guy that you don't know got his powers? So
same thing with one.
Yeah. So we'll read him. Maybe you're on issue 4. You'll get his origin, and by then, I hope that you guys are like, oh, okay, And then when you see what happens of him not having a private identity, you know what I mean? He gets his powers in public, so it's not like, and so people saw it. It's on the news. There was a reporter right there. The Lois Lane archetype is there, and she's the one who calls him the patriarch. You know what I mean? So he can't deny it, and he's not a liar. He's actually a good guy. So then you're gonna be like, oh, okay, this now I understand why he's like this.
So I know you have other places to be to promote your book. So,
yeah, I couldn't promote all week because I work a full-time job, and I already scheduled live chats, and I want to honor my commitments.
Yep.
So all this weekend I will be promoting. If anybody's watching and they have a channel and they want to hear me pontificate about my comic book, invite me. You know, I love talking about comics. You want to talk about Captain Marvel? I'll talk about Captain Marvel. You know, and I feel bad. This is your channel. You talk about Unbreakable Argonauts. Tell, you know, you have an active campaign on Indiegogo right now.
I do, yeah. It's kind of a pulpy Justice League. That's the way I think of it. It's over on Indiegogo. It's up for about 16 more days, I think.
I'm backing. Yeah, I'm giving it my endorsement. I don't back everybody. I got to ask you, did you read Planetary?
I'm about 3 issues in. It's finding the time for it, you know.
What do you think?
I'm enjoying it. Yeah.
Yeah, I knew you would like it. I knew you'd like it. It's one of my favorite comics, and yes, that's also an inspiration. Every comic book I've ever read is an inspiration for my comic. You know,
I did kind of respect how brazen the Doc Savage character is. Just such a ripoff. You see him and you're like, no, that's just Doc Savage.
Oh, wait do you see the Fantastic Four ripoffs?
Oh yeah, I've seen those as well.
Yeah. It's so, but that's the point.
Yeah.
It's wearing it on its sleeve. It's like, this is, you know, there's Superman, there's Captain Marvel, there's
the Shadow, and
I think there was a Green Lantern, but they got him before he became the Green Lantern. You know, it's so good. You know, I got to reread it again. That's Warren Ellis. For those of you who don't know what we're talking about, Warren Ellis and John Cassidy doing the art. I think it was 27 issues, and it
something like that. Yeah.
I kind of sound hypocritical because it's kind of like the superheroes are the bad guys kind of thing, but there's something to be said for a guy who could really write well and do this kind of stuff. You know, Warren Ellis is a rare comic book writing genius.
I think I read somewhere that I don't remember which series it was, but the Wildstorm office was basically keeping Warren Ellis around because they liked reading his stuff, not because it was making money.
Yeah, so. I don't know. Did he Warren Ellis? He came up with he took Stormwatch and made it into the Authority, which I absolutely loved, and it was good at the time. But I think right now, if the Authority was to debut right now, I think I'd be a little man, the bad guy superhero, you know.
Been done.
But at the time in the late 90s, I was an edgy young adult that was, you know, into my punk rock and rebellion. So yeah, that was really good. But yes, I have to stop now because I have to go on another channel, and I don't know how I'm going to talk. My throat is already killing me. I've been talking for hours already. But
I know how you feel, man.
But thank you for having me on. I'm sorry if I talk too much.
No, I don't talk that much, so it's great having a guest who talks enough for both of us.
Yeah, I know you don't like to talk that much, so I figured I'd make it easy for you. But thank you. I appreciate it. Anytime you want to come on my channel.
Absolutely.
Unbreakable Argonauts is on Indiegogo. Heroic Tales will be on Fund My Comic on the 26th, 9 p.m. Michael Bancroft said that he would host my launch party. I'll be a pest. And remember you said this? So, you know, I hope that happens. I'm excited. I'm nervous. Reality's starting to hit me in the face that this is going to happen now, you know. So today was my first, oh my God, what am I doing kind of day. It's, you know, so it's happening. It's launching. I'm getting nervous. Thanks a lot.
Well, I wish you the best of luck.
Now I'm babbling. I've learned to stop once I start babbling.
I'll close out the stream and wish you the best of luck, man.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks a lot, everybody.